My name is Heike Dempster. I'm the Associate Director of Public Relations and Outreach at YoungArts. My pronouns are she, her. And representing YoungArts, whose headquarters is situated in Miami on the ancestral land of the Tequesta, Taino, and Seminole, I'd like to acknowledge the original elders, past, present, and future on behalf of our organization. I want to welcome you all and thank you for joining us this evening for the Classical Voice info session at YoungArts. And we will learn a lot about why you should apply. YoungArts identifies the most accomplished young artists in the visual, literary, and performing arts and provides them with creative and professional development opportunities throughout their careers. And the young arts experience truly begins with the application. For many young people, applying to YoungArts is the first step in affirming, I am an artist. So thank you all again for joining. We want to encourage all artists aged 15 to 18 or in grades 10 to 12 to apply. Once selected, all award winners are offered a lifetime of artistic support and ongoing connection with a robust network of peers and mentors. Before we get started, a few housekeeping notes. We are recording this info session tonight to share all those insights with other applicants or potential applicants who couldn't make it this evening. We encourage you, of course, to ask questions and participate. Before doing so, please take a moment to check your display name on Zoom to make sure it's your first name only so we can protect your privacy. Also, when you introduce yourself verbally, just use your first name. If you have questions, please raise your hand or use the chat feature at any time. In the next hour, we're going to tell you more about the YoungArts competition, how voice applications are judged, and tips for your submission. So now I would like to introduce our speakers this evening. We have Jason Ferrante. He's entering his 7th year as national panelist for classical voice at YoungArts and is currently a voice teacher at Wolf Trap Opera, where he recently served as director of the Wolf Trap Opera Studio and is also the voice teacher for the training programs at Minnesota Opera, Michigan Opera Theater, Nashville Opera, and Pensacola Opera. He's a judge for the Metropolitan Opera National Council auditions and teaches many professional singers in the opera world, as well as being the personal voice coach for Sarah Brightman. Then we have Aaron Crouch. He's a tenor from Southern Maryland and a 2017 YoungArts winner in voice. Aaron holds a bachelor's degree in vocal performance from the Curtis Institute of Music in Philadelphia. And Neidra Ward, Associate Director of Winner Programs at YoungArts. Thank you, and I turn it over to Jason.
Hi, everyone. It's going to be a wild Thursday evening for us all. I'm so excited to see already in August, so many people on top of things, checking out YoungArts, getting ready to apply. And I know we've already had some people apply, which is great. I mean this when I say this. The YoungArts is the highlight of my year every year. It reminds us of that everything that we do starts with our great potential, and how that's where so many of you who are applying are today, where you've recognized this potential in yourself, your family's recognized it, your friends have, your teachers have, and you're at this moment where you say, okay, well, what's next? And we are here to hopefully help some of you launch into that next step, and to do it wisely and safely with lots of courage, but yet we're very protective of you, and we want to make sure that you're always doing your very best. And this is the first time I've gotten to participate in something like this, and I think it's very exciting to hopefully answer some obvious questions, but I'm very interested in think about them tonight before we get to Q&A. What sort of questions you may really ask that our website just does not answer, or that maybe your teacher or your friends or family just may not have an accurate answer for, and I might not have one either. But I'm very curious to demystify a little bit of the process, and I'm just very, very excited to have you all here. I can't wait to talk about it. And Aaron, if you'd like to say a few words, thank you in your busy schedule for joining us today.
Oh my gosh, please. I'm very excited to be here as well. Like Heike said, my name is Aaron Crouch. I was a YoungArts winner in 2017, and that week in Florida was honestly one of the greatest experiences of my young career. You know, it was it was really life-changing, getting to be around a lot of people who were, just as young and crazy and stupid as me to want to be an opera singer for whatever reason we choose to be opera singers. It's really cool to feel like you're a part of this elite club that kind of stays with you forever. So I'm very excited to be here and to talk to you guys.
And just to set the tone, if I may embarrass Aaron, he's joining us tonight from Detroit, where he's in rehearsals for another production of Janine Tesori's opera Blue that premiered at Glimmerglass, a role Aaron created, and they're in preparations for another production. And so soon out of Young Arts, with the stage under your feet, I feel just that fact, and it's that receipt right there is a testament to what we do and what we hope for at Young Arts. So I'm so glad you could be with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. I think it'd be nice to start telling you what happens on my end of things as a selection panelist when the application process starts. If you've applied already, or if you're about to apply or considering applying, you'll submit all of the usual, what is your name and address and all of that good stuff, but you'll submit 4 videos to us of 4 different pieces, and those requirements are listed at youngarts.org under the classical voice discipline. And I'll sit and I'll watch them. And then everything beyond that, that's the big question, and where I have a duty to bring what my own personal taste and experience is about singing to the process, as do our preliminary reviewers of the videos. But in the end, there's this thing, and I may not have an answer for you about exactly what it means, but I'd like you all to think about it too, and put yourself in the shoes of someone watching video applications yourself, not being the applicant, and seeing a couple hundred applications and deciding what speaks to you. And there's this certain it factor. And it's so hard to describe. And over the years, I've whittled it down to when I hear a sound and within 10 seconds, I can hear an entire story, a vocal one, a dramatic one, tells me a little something about your relationship to words and feelings. And what pieces you've chosen tells me so much before I even play a video. I can see this is what this person and their mentors have decided represents them. It tells me such a great story. I know in classical voice, we're all supposed to be the most sophisticated elite people, right? But in the end, I want to be thoroughly entertained by all 4 pieces. And when I've been asked in the past for when applicants, what should I submit? That's such a hard question, right? It's sort of like saying, what size shirt should I buy without measuring your body first, right? And I always say, look at the 4 pieces you've chosen. And if I were to pick just one of them out of a hat, and only one, would you be satisfied having that be the one piece that represents you in an audition? And if you have 4 pieces you can say that about, you're already ahead of the game. So later on this evening, I'll watch one of my favorite TV shows, RuPaul's Drag Race. And they talk a lot of times that there are contestants they call fillers, which they're going to be eliminated 6th or 7th in the middle of the season. I don't want you to have any filler repertoire. So I don't want you to have 3 excellent pieces and then just, let me put in Mary Had a Little Lamb so I can get to my 4. You have this time now. If you haven't applied, you still have a couple months. Give me 4 pieces where each one could stand alone and represent you. What do you think about that, Aaron, as far as repertoire?
I think that those are all amazing things to say to these people about the application process. I think another thing that a lot of us young singers get caught up on is trying to find our flashiest arias that's got all the high notes, all the fast notes and things like that. And I think it's really important not important. I think it's really fascinating when we find that there is something to be said for those simpler pieces that we make come to life. And that's kind of a part of the magic. And so I think more than anything, it's not about impressing Jason with your vocal acrobatics as much as it's about bringing something honest and authentic and innovative to the table. You know, I mean, I think one of my pieces was "Sure on This Shining Night," which is probably like the "Mary Had a Little Lamb" of art songs. But I love that art song. I still sing that to this day, and like sing it for people. Like when they're like, "Oh, like can we hear some art songs?" I sing "Sure on the Shining Night." It's always my English because I just love it, and it does something for me, and it says something to me, and so I know that when I sing it for people, it, you know, they feel that exchange of energy that I'm having with the piece. And so I think that that's more important than any high C that you can throw out there, if you're just throwing it out there just because you got a high C or whatever. You know, I mean, we love high C's, but you know.
It's true. And you know, I in when I was a high school senior quite a long time ago, it's so long ago that I applied for this competition before it was called Young Arts. It was just called Arts. And I received an honorable mention. I didn't get to come to Miami. And I remember spending a lot of time thinking about how I could impress judges. And if you're wondering if it's ever enough, I want you to always keep in mind it's the quality of what you're doing. Our 2020 gold level classical winner is a lovely young soprano named Madison Perry, who's now studying at Rice University. And Madison sang a piece by Isabella Cobran called Povero cor tu palpiti, which Cobran wrote as a vocal exercise, just a little legato middle voice exercise. And she sang it perfectly, maybe 12 times that week. And it was probably the simplest piece I heard all week, but it was so well prepared and beautifully sung, every word in every place, every rhythm, every personal feeling put into the piece, that it stood out. And it was because the it in that statement was her talent, not the piece. And that's, you know, as you're looking at what repertoire to choose, I just can't say this enough. Ask yourself, could each piece on its own represent me? And you'll be in really good shape with that. So let me be upfront about something first. Every single person that's ever put in a position to evaluate, adjudicate, hire, fire, all of that good stuff will have personal pieces that they just don't like. And we all have those, and there are those, and I will not, you could offer me $1 million and I will not tell you what they are. I go out of my way to even hear pieces that I know when I see it on the list, I roll my eyes and I listen to it. I've invited people and given nice prizes to people singing songs I don't like. The red flags for me, the ones that always stand out is where it's clearly an attempt to impress, but the preparation hasn't reached the level of impressing me. So if you're going to bring in Lucia's Mad Scene and sing 72% of the notes, that's a red flag. And it is historically with Young Arts, at least from my point of view, a perfectly stitched Caro Mio Ben will read better than a very challenging piece sung half-baked. And when I see the list of pieces before I push play, right? And I like demystifying a little this for you because I think it helps clarify your choices. And I want to thank Heike and Neidra from Young Arts who are in the room right now as I do some self-discovery and realize how great it is to have this talk tonight. I see the list, I get to pick what to hear first. So you can submit your pieces however you want. I'm going to pick the one, and I usually base it on what my own personal opinion of knowing the repertoire well, what piece is going to show you to the best advantage on the first hearing. So I look for things. If I see on the list a piece that I know is challenging, I'm probably going to listen to it first, because if there are a lot of incorrect pitches or just not being sung well, that's going to keep the video from being advanced to the next step. And do know that a video that's being an application that's being considered, I listen to it so many times. I go through and go do a round of all the videos over and over, and each time I do it, there are fewer because I've said, okay, this one's not going to advance. So someone who makes it to Miami, by the time they do, I will have listened to their application easily 30 times. And I find it's been a good process for me because every time I re-listen, it either affirms or questions things. And if I listen to you over and over, and each time it's like, yep, that's really well done. That is special. That is a voice I want other people to hear. And frankly, I hear a voice and like, wow, I would love for YoungArts stamp to be on this talent as it moves forward. It's great. Our winners are historically from different experiences, and not just geographically and culturally, but at education level. Some people have had a couple voice lessons. Honestly, in classical voice, most of our applicants have regular voice lessons. In pop and jazz and singer-songwriter, that's often fewer. And I've had high school juniors come in and college freshmen, because our age stipulation is between 15 and 18. So it's not unheard of to be in your freshman year of college and be with us because you're still 18. Again, the common denominator is repertoire that clearly you've chosen not to fit my requirements on the list, but to show off your strengths. And if I may, the requirements have been reworked a few times in the past few years, and I'm happy with where we've gotten it now. If you've looked at it, great. If you haven't, go take a look. I've left it open where the matrix exists that you could potentially just offer us 2 languages, maybe 3, and meet the requirements. Some people just don't have a German or French song that shows their strengths off right now, and I wouldn't want them to submit one for the language's sake when I'm listening to your voice and your talent. So if you find yourself saying, wow, this is Italian heavy, that's great. I'm totally okay with that, because we are voice and artistry and authentic voice first. And if the repertoire that shows you off the best happens to look repetitious a little bit, I can deal with that, at least as far as language goes, because we get a lot of questions about the language diversity. And while I find it impressive and interesting to see 4 different languages, it's neither a deal breaker or maker for me. Aaron, could I ask you, when you were in high school, where were you with what languages you were singing in and feeling comfortable with?
I was working on Italian and German mostly. I think I did like 1 French song in high school. And to this day, French is by far like my weakest language. I just don't really do it a whole lot. But yeah, definitely heavy on the Italian. Really liked the German a lot. Love the German. Still love the German. But definitely English, Italian, German, with a little sprinkle of French when I have
a little seasoning. Yeah, because what I'm listening to is that immediate vocal quality that just stands out. I often find myself on first hearing pushing play and closing my eyes, and then I open them after, and I can tell on myself the degree of how wide I open my eyes if you have that it factor within 2 or 3 seconds. And take that into, competitions and applications like this. I don't always feel comfortable calling YoungArts a competition, because competitions for me are when you walk into a room and you have 7 minutes to try to win some money, and you come with us and you're with us for a week. And it's so much bigger. We're so unique that way. I don't know any other competition that, other than the BBC Cardiff Singer of the World, where the singers are somewhere for more than a few minutes. And we get to see you triumph on a Tuesday and fail on a Wednesday, and triumph on a Thursday, and then triumph again on a Friday. And then I get to add up an average, and you get a chance to really show yourself. Have that be taken into consideration in your repertoire selection. Do these pieces do it for the listener in the first 10 seconds? Because that's what a competition is. And it'll be different later in your careers when you curate a recital, or maybe you're you're singing for a conductor for an hour to be considered for something, and you're showing a wide range of things. But what does it look like to have 4 pieces that tell me who you are vocally? I'm always going to say that first because this is the voice division. And it is voice first, always. That is then buoyed and elevated and amplified by your authentic character and your language and your drama and your confidence. Pick pieces that I don't have to hit the fast forward button to know more about you. And that's what a competition is. And really ask you, make it pretend. I know everyone in here loves singing, or you wouldn't be in here right now. Make believe, pretend you're a judge. And what would you be listening for? What do you really want to hear? To be really, really an important way to look at it, and have these good, honest conversations with your teachers. Whoever you're working with right now in high school, or if you're a freshman in college, you're not going to forget this person for the rest of your life, because they were by you at this point of potential, and then having people recognize it is. I wish I could go back. I loved this time so much. But be honest with your mentors and your supporters, and please relay back on my behalf that fancy repertoire is not the key. It's cool and it's exciting, and when people have done it and nailed it, it is good. Don't get me wrong, but it's not enough to just do a fancy piece. Question. Thank you for asking. So the 4 pieces. First off, one of the, and I think we do, I don't know if we say this in the materials, but one of those 4 pieces will be the pieces chosen in our gala concert in Miami. So keep that in mind in your application, that if you are lucky enough to be part of the group that goes to Miami, it will be one of those 4 pieces. And we do it that way to be fair and equalize with all of our finalists, so that everyone there's no one has a strong arm up on anyone else in that period of November and December before we're in Miami. So though one of those 4 will go on the concert, and then singers who are invited to Miami are then told to please bring about 6 to 8 songs or an arias, oratorio, anything with you to Miami. It can include the 4 for sure, but we've found that successfully, since we work every day with different master teachers and coaches, that 6 to 8 has been working really, really well. Doesn't mean you'll sing all of them, but to have them. And you know how the world is. We have people who bring in 6, which is the 4 they applied with, and 2 new ones. And I have literally had someone come in with 20. And that's up to you, but I think 6 to 8 is a good goal. And frankly, if you're at the point where you're applying for colleges and conservatory, that's probably a good goal for the fall anyway, so that when it's audition time, you've had enough pieces that you could say, well, this one's stronger than the other one, and I can make room for that. And that's a great question. That's a question that always comes up, and I forget it in the summer. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Jason, a couple came in the chat.
Okay. This is where I've already warned everybody. You're going to see Boomer Jason without his contacts and reading the chat. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to go down the list. Would you prefer to hear an applicant who has a variety in terms of moods and speeds and overall feel of songs, or is that irrelevant in repertoire? That's another great question. If you are a singer who has that sort of versatility, then that will be how you'll show one of your strengths is versatility. I've had a winner in the past she is so clearly going to be a large voice dramatic soprano, and she did not offer Rejoice Greatly because coloratura is not her thing. And if you go to a 5-star sushi restaurant in Miami, they're not making pizza because they're selling their strengths, right? But if one of your strengths is that I do Messiah and Verdi, let's hear it. All of these questions always click back to the left from me to knowing what your strengths are and how to show them off. And repertoire, that's your clothing for your vocal body. What looks good? What is red carpet ready? And then what are you wearing to the gym on our Wednesday morning masterclass? That sort of thing. But while it's impressive, if you do many styles and they're not all at the same level of excellence, it probably works against you more than if you did just 2 styles and they were all excellent. The end game being that what you offer is all good, high quality. And I've definitely invited people to Miami who sang 4 lyrical pieces because they were really strong. If we don't make it as finalists, do we still receive the support mentioned earlier in this session? What a great question. And Neidra, if I say something that is totally wrong, please hit a buzzer. We have 3 tiers of awarding. The top tier of awarding in the selection process is national finalist, and those are singers who make it to Young Arts Week in Miami. While we don't have a fixed number for classical voice, historically in my tenure, I've brought 8 people to Young Arts Week. And I've been told by my wonderful team of leaders that we could bring 6. I think we've had room for 9 or 10. Years before me, there were more than that. 8's been a happy number lately. The tier below that is our honorable mention award, which I am not limited by in numbers, but that goes to singers who are above average and perhaps not quite on the same page on that given application process. You know, the reality of it is your audition is a sampling. It is a one day's taste, and it could be different a week later. That honorable mention tier receives a cash award of, I believe it's 250. Is that correct?
Yes.
Great. And then access to our national programs and resources. And also, if they are still eligible in the next year to apply again, our honorable mentions are automatically advanced in pre-screening. So that's always a benefit. And then we have a third tier of singers who are clearly a potential that is still in the eggshell, but it is so clear that this is a gift and we want to support it. And that's our merit level awards, who are also, if I'm not mistaken, Neidra, have access to our national programs.
Yes. Yeah. And they receive a cash award of $100.
Yes.
And after your winning year, it doesn't end there. There's so much support for all of our winners after they're named and go through a program or don't go through a program. There's so many other opportunities that are offered, micro grants, calls for gigs, so many things, other scholarships. There's just a whole community of Young Arts past winners. And so, yeah, it doesn't stop your winning year. So I just want to say that the answer to your question is yes, you still receive support as we mentioned in the beginning of the session. So yeah. And
I can't tell you how amazing it's been that past winners I'm still in touch with on the regular. One of our former winners has been my voice student for a couple years, and we're so invested in what our participants are doing. And also, to speak of the honorable mention tier, I work with an amazing mezzo soprano who won the Metropolitan Opera competition this year, and she's now going into the Houston Grand Opera studio. And we were hanging out this summer at Wolf Trap where she was singing, and I said, "You did Young Arts, right?" She's like, "Yeah, but you only gave me honorable mention." And she just won the Met. And we're, we support each other at this point. And once you're part of the Young Arts family, you're part of the Young Arts family. It's quite exciting. In the chat box, I saw another question about choosing whether the fourth piece should be an aria or an art song. Again, it depends on, have you made a list for yourself? Make this list for yourself. What are 3 to 5 strengths that I have as a singer that I need these judges to see today? That will lead you to the repertoire. And sometimes there's going to be a piece out there that you love so much that, I just have to sing this. I love it. I love the way it sounds. And it may not show off your strengths. There are certain songs that I've always said, in one day when I have 5 minutes to breathe, I'm going to make a list of the most frequently appearing songs in the applications. And there are a few in there that are just these gorgeous, gorgeous songs that are sung really well by our applicants, but don't necessarily show them off. I would say I'm fine if art song or an aria is not more impressive than an art song to me. I promise you, if you sing Nepoj Krasavica by Rachmaninoff well, I'm going to be more impressed than if you sing Vojke Sapete okay. You know, what are the logistics of the piece, and does it show your strengths? And sometimes the strengths of a piece don't line up with your particular strengths, and maybe they're just not a great relationship. So make that list. What are your strengths? Don't be embarrassed by your own ego. You don't have to put it on Facebook what your strengths are, but you should know. Because I'll tell you, there's one person from now and the rest of your singing career that you will talk to more than anyone else, and they're in the mirror. And they actually never shut up. And I think they should know your strengths and be honest with yourself. And sometimes knowing where your strengths and knowledge stop, that is the key to changing that. Because when I know what I don't know, which is a whole lot, I work on it tomorrow. And as a teacher, I've had to learn that myself. When I'm asked a question and I don't really have a good answer for it, I don't just give an answer now to sound smart. I say, you know what, I don't know, but I now have homework. So by talking to yourselves this way, I think that will lead you to the repertoire choices. So that it's not like, okay, this is Achish Lipte from the Abduction from the Seraglio. I'm going to fit my voice into it. What repertoire fits you already? But no, have that list. I'm a list maker. Write down, what do they need to see from me to know that I am good, and then pick pieces that show it. Look in this chat box again. If you advance beyond the video submission, how many rounds are there before being chosen as a finalist? Great. It ends up being where our the video submissions are first viewed by a panelist, a panel of 3 preliminary artists of colleagues that we've assembled over the past couple of years, all experts in singing. And that's the first round. And I'm going to make up a number, but let's just say there are 350 applications. I generally will get around 100 of those. The next round comes to me. And that then becomes one big round of sorts that I break down into many, where I regularly go through and I start shaping up, you know, who's going to be a national finalist, who's going to be an honorable mention award, and who's going to get a merit award. And then some of those 100 won't make one of those tiers that year. It ends up being about 10 go-throughs for me. And then one of the best unique things about YoungArts that I am so proud of is that while we have different disciplines in voice, we have a voice team, and it's 3 of us. Our chair is the award-winning, amazing jazz singer, Latanya Hall, and she oversees the jazz and pop division. And we also have Chris Sampson, who oversees the singer-songwriter division, and Chris is the top educator for the Grammy Foundation and founded the singer-songwriting program at USC, the Thornton School, which is arguably one of the best in the world. And the 3 of us, we gather together in a nice little room in Miami, and we eat for a couple days, and we listen to with these big headphones onto all of our applicants, and we start categorizing. And then on the final day, we one at a time submit to each other our finalists for Miami. And while the decisions are always chosen by the head of each discipline, we do not advance someone unless all 3 of us agree. And that means Chris and Latanya need to thumbs up my selections in classical, and I need to thumbs up their jazz and pop. And we have created this 3-headed monster that works so beautifully. And I hope that if you're applying for YoungArts, the idea of coming and having a concentrated week on classical voice appeals to you, but you will also not be so completely siloed that you will have interdisciplinary time together and become friends with people who are on The Voice and people who are later going to soundtrack Emmy award-winning TV shows. And that sense of community that we have has been so wonderful because it keeps us all in check. And if I could just make it very simple, it keeps a lot of our classical singers chill, and it makes some of our pop and jazz singers work harder and learn all their notes because we're all watching each other. And it amazes me to watch the jazz and pop singers fall on the floor when they first hear the opera singers, and to see the opera singers jump to their feet shouting when they first hear the pop and jazz singers. And this sense of community as singers and artists is not something you're going to experience often as classical singers, because the reality is so much of what we do is siloed because of how we have to take care of our instruments and the level of preparation. So to have this experience at the onset of your adventures, where we are all one, dancers, actors, painters, filmmakers, is something. When I tell you it's the best week of the year, it really, really is. And LaTanya Hall and I, who I mentioned, we say this at every late January. It's like, okay, I'm ready to start over every year because it's so refreshing. And I would ask that as classical singers, you consider what it looks like if you're not already there mentally to share in the voice discipline, because you will be so much more well-rounded and open. And we definitely have had pop and jazz singers who have been classical voice majors when they applied. They just applied for pop and jazz. And it's just one of my favorite parts of Young Arts is that we all have different disciplines, but every applicant is the same. They're a walking ball of potential, and we want to give it money. Yeah.
I just want to confirm though, or clarify just a little bit. It's only digital and video until you are named a winner. So there is no in-person unless you are named a winner. And if you are named a finalist, then you go on to the live auditions in January.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And once chosen, which usually happens for us mid to late November, you then have what ends up being a good month and a half to prepare. And our offices are in constant communication with you, answering questions that you may have and answering questions for your family as well. And that is the live component of the Young Arts competition, is the week in Miami. And while I can't tell you how many will be chosen because I haven't heard everyone yet, in years past, it's for classical, it has been 8. If that number was something you were curious in. Should we discuss a little bit about the Presidential Scholar nominations that come if you're chosen to attend Young Arts?
Sure. So Young Arts is the sole nominating agency for Presidential Scholars in the Arts. You would need to be a senior in high school and participate in National Young Arts Week in January as a finalist to be considered. Your consideration is determined during Young Arts Week. If you attend Young Arts Week as an underclassman, junior, sophomore, whatever, once you are a senior, you are eligible to apply, and you would apply with videos again, but updated materials, and answer essay questions. And Jason and the team would review the same time during that current year's Young Arts Week. And then you're notified about nominations at the beginning of around February, I believe. And so we can nominate across all 10 disciplines, we can nominate 60. And from that, it is whittled down to 20. So there are 20 art scholars every year. Finalists, again, across all disciplines who participate in National Young Arts Week is anywhere from 150 to 170. And again, that's across all disciplines. Voice is usually a total of 20 or so ish from that. And yeah, and then you also have to have a 3.24 cumulative GPA or higher in order to be considered. So that is presidential scholars. After it's whittled down to the 20, those 20 are then invited to participate in the program of presidential scholars, and that is held in June.
Fantastic. If anyone was wondering, I'll give you a very quick overview of what Young Arts Week actually looks like. Finalists come to winners / finalists. Everyone is a winner, by the way. I've been asked this in the past. So if you are chosen as one of the finalists for Young Arts, you do not leave without a prize. So once chosen as a finalist, you will automatically receive, depending on where placement of awarding happens on our end at the end of the week, will receive a prize, and that comes with a week in a beautiful hotel in Miami with all of your meals and concerts. And you get to do a formal re-audition for us in our lovely top floor space at the Young Arts headquarters. You will sing. I'm sure many of you have seen our voice gala concert at the New World Center. That happens on the Monday night of Young Arts Week, and voice finalists now come in 2 days before Monday as opposed to one, to let the voice settle and rehearse. We have the excellent coach and pianist, Dr. Jeremy Rieger, who's the head of collaborative piano at UC Boulder, as your sole pianist and coach all week. I'm there all week working with you. We bring in master teachers who in years past have included the tenor Russell Thomas, the mezzo-soprano Jamie Barton, Grammy Award-winning tenor Kareem Suleiman, Sarah Brightman, who all come and are always so nervous because they're in this room of these big talents all gathered in the same room. It's very funny. And you do regular classes and mentorship talks with them. We generally have a big class on stage movement, and you spend a lot of fun social time with artists and other disciplines. And we culminate with a nice farewell party at the end of the week. And I can't stress enough how unbelievably valuable it is to adjudicate singers over 6 days as opposed to 6 minutes. Because we get to see everything, and you get to go to bed at night on a Tuesday and said, well, that could have been better. So I'm going to do that better tomorrow. And then we'll see it. And that's the best part of this competition, I think, is that we get to see the ups and downs. And by the end of the week, it ends up being not whose voice did I love the most, but who had the most ups in 6 days.
Aaron, do you want to speak a little more about your experience?
Yes, please.
Yeah, sure. First, I have to say something that Jason's not gonna like, but let's just act like Jason isn't in the Zoom call right now. I'm just talking to the applicants. So like, I do know what he's saying, and I totally agree that it's not a competition, but it's a competition. And you have to, but in the way that he's saying it is not a competition. No, absolutely. Like it is. It's not that it isn't a competition as much as it's more than just a competition. Like it is an amazing experience where you get to meet a lot of people. But those 6 days, Jason's watching you, and those people in the room are watching you, and they talk. And they talk about how you're performing. They talk about how you observe. It's about a lot more than just the way you get up there and sing. It's about how you are with your colleagues. It's also a very tough schedule as well. Like it's very fun, but it's like 9 to 10 every day. 9 a.m. I think 8 a.m. actually is like.
I was gonna say.
Yeah. 9 a.m. is when we have to sing, but you have to we have I think breakfast starts at like 7, and we have like warm ups at 8. Then we usually do our first thing at like 8:39, and then you pretty much are going the whole day. I mean, you have breaks, of course. And so it's also about like pacing yourself. There's so many things that go into it. And the best part about that rigorous schedule is it really allows you to learn, like, how do I like to work? What works for me in terms of how I need to be going to bed, in terms of how much socializing can or can I not do to save my voice and things like that for the next day, where you have to do it all over again. Yeah, it was super great to be around a bunch of other singers who were also extremely nervous. I was fortunate to be in my first year of undergrad when I went to Young Arts, and I was with someone else who was from my school too, and I knew a couple of the people who were also finalists, and so did my friend from my school, and so it was very easy for us to all kind of become friends and share in that, like, collective anxiety. So we definitely all made each other much more comfortable about the situation. I had the pleasure of being Jason's assistant this last year when it was virtual, and I got to watch. It was actually really cool, like, going from being one of the nervous kids to watching the nervous kids, like, and how they did come together and really support each other. And it's the most beautiful thing because we all know singers can be catty and singers can be, negative, and so it's really great to find those good communities of people who just want to see you do great. Like, they want to see you do a good job, and we all are just supporting each other. And that does take away a lot of the pressure that you will find in a lot of competitions. But another amazing thing is all of the faculty and staff is just like the nicest people that you will ever meet in your entire life. It doesn't matter what you need, you're going to have it. Like, it doesn't matter what you need, you're going to have it. Like, there's nothing more to say other than that. And my experience, the best parts of my experience from Young Arts was honestly, now as a, past winner, like, it's been the after Young Arts, it was like, oh, Young Arts is the best week, and it is. But it's like the fact that this organization has kept in touch with me and has supported me, 4 years later now, is really great. And I have a lot of friends who were there much, earlier than I was, and they're still in contact with Young Arts, and Young Arts really does support them and keep in touch with what they're doing. And as Neidra said before, there are tons of opportunities. There's tons of financial help that they offer. They have grants for projects that you want to work on. And there are just grants for just financial help in general if that's something that you need. And there are tons of other alumni that are working on tons of projects that might need a singer, and there are ways to get in touch with those people. And it's just a really great networking opportunity, which kind of is like 80% of the whole thing about being an opera singer or a classical artist. It's really about who you know. And once you're in this network, you're connected to pretty much anything else in the world because Young Arts knows everybody. So it's really an invaluable experience that it's just really exciting. So I'm rooting for all of you, and I hope you all get to experience that as well, because it's really fantastic.
And Aaron was just a voice assistant for Young Arts Week Plus this year.
Yes, and that was really fun. It was really cool. Like I felt like I knew all the secrets and things, even though I didn't know anything more than I did. I just felt cool. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know. I didn't know anything more than I did the first time, but I just felt like it was very nostalgic. And at the same time, I also kind of wanted to be a finalist all over again. I was like, Jason, please let me come back. You don't have to give me any money. Like, I'll pay for the hotel room. Like, can I just come and just sing every day? Like, I just want to be a part of the.
I love how Aaron thinks that's up to me, because then I go, I'm like, Neidra, please let Aaron come back. It's true, and Aaron is such a fine example of Young Arts value after Young Arts. The short story I've told a million times in Aaron's presence, but I'll tell it again. It's very short. A couple years, maybe 2 years after Aaron's Young Arts time, I received a call from Glimmerglass Opera saying we've commissioned and we're premiering an exciting new piece. It's called Blue. Do you know by any chance a really good young African-American tenor? And I was like, Aaron Crouch, he's one of my winners. Like, I didn't even take a breath. And now you own that piece. You not only are performing it in many theaters, you've recorded it recently, correct? Yeah. That's what happens. That's what can happen. And that's all because he filled out that application, made a good impression, came, won a few coins, and kept doing well after. And that's what we want to do. We want, I mean, how corny can I be? But you need wind beneath your wings at this time. And we are this building an organization full of resources that we don't get to spend on ourselves. And we want to, it's for emerging amazing talents. And that's really exciting. And I want to answer a question in the chat box that I saw about live accompaniment versus recorded accompaniment. Great question. The recorded accompaniment was an option introduced last season because of COVID-19 and our restrictions with making live recordings. It worked just fine for us last year, and I did not ever take that into any consideration. As someone that has had to sing, I'm still on stage, I've had to sing a few things with recorded accompaniment. I'm never together with the piano perfectly. So I know what that looks like. So that is not held against you if you come in a little late, or if you're still holding a note and the piano has gone on without you. We know what that looks like, so I wouldn't stress about it. I would say that make sure the recorded accompaniment is something we can hear and is played well. While there are a lot of pre-canned accompaniments out there, I think the most successful pre-recorded accompaniments are done by a pianist specifically for that singer, where you've maybe on the phone or Zoom have talked about your tempi a little bit, and it's just for you. I will always encourage you, though, especially now because we do have a lot more breathing room than last year. If a live pianist accompaniment is an option for you, I strongly recommend it, but it does not gain or lose you any favor in the review process. It's the only time it could work against you is if you've agreed to submit a video where the recorded accompaniment is just badly played or incorrect.
Yeah, and I just want to mention too, Jason, that we revised the requirements. So remember with COVID, yes, and we allowed for that pre-recorded accompaniment to happen, whereas in the past it wasn't. Yeah. So we have kept that for this year as well. Obviously, COVID is still happening, so we did keep it, and we will continue to keep it until we'll probably continue to keep it.
Yeah, it's going fine for us. And if there was something that we can get from the live recording that we can't get from a recorded accompaniment, is that sense of collaboration with a pianist. So that is always nice. But I would ask the same question: is it going to work against me if I sing to a track? Not at all. Everyone is singing from a track right now, or has at some point, and it is not easy. I do recommend, if you're going to record an audition with a track, to spend some time listening to that track with your score over and over so that you know the duration and the gives and takes really well. You're going to have to adjust some of the phrasing that you'd love to do to accommodate the track, even if it could be something that you don't want to do. Let's see. Everyone should subscribe to Aaron's YouTube channel. Absolutely. What the fuck? FACH. It's great.
Jason, I almost had no idea what you were about to say, and I was like, Jason, this is a Zoom call. What are we doing? But okay, yeah. What the fuck?
It is quite entertaining and good. And if you're a soprano, you should listen to his phrasing of soprano arias. That's
Don't do that, because you will not make it to anything that you're trying to apply for. Trying to sing it the way I did. That was
don't come in belting it in that.
Right, it was wrong, but no one said anything because I'm a tenor. We're gonna say you can't say how I was supposed to do it because no one don't do it. So
don't criticize the tenor. Opera companies have to sell tickets. Come on. What else?
I do just want to say, because we have about 3 minutes left, so I want to make this quick. If there is any specific application questions or about the requirements that you guys have after this, I'm going to put in the chat. Please send them to apply@youngarts.org, and that is answered by several staff members. So we will get you an answer as soon as possible. And there you go. I just put it in the chat. And then I think someone just asked something else.
Yeah, so it's just an observation from Robin, and that's great. I totally
Mhm.
agree. If you can get to work with the pianist who is recording the track, even if you had to do it virtually, just so that they're playing for your particular rendition and your version, that's always going to be helpful. That's a great idea. Yep. Great. So I just wanted to say really quickly, it gives me a lot of hope and excitement. I'm getting the Young Arts bug a little bit earlier than usual. It's great. It's awesome. It's a real thing, you guys. But on a very serious note, if we classical singers, people who you don't see on TV 24/7, right? If we're going to make it through this, it's going to be because of you. Really, really important. And please be your biggest fan. I encourage you to be your biggest fan, to have the most gorgeous, silent, healthy ego in the world, so that I know you get up in front of us with courage and have this thing that's inside of you that's bigger than you, so you have to sing. Otherwise, why sing? You could just talk to yourself, you could read the phone book, but you've decided you want to sing a Mozart aria with a high A in it. Well, I want you to have faith in that person that's going to do that. And I can't explain how or why, and I hope I never can, but we can see that. When you see it and hear a singer, you can just see that love affair. And I watched a documentary recently with the great Leontine Price talking, and she talked about her debut at the New Theater at the Met in Antony and Cleopatra. And she said she was so sensational that night, she made herself cry and she had to kiss herself. Listen, I want to see people who believe in their own talents and really, really know your strengths and pick repertoire that shows us. And thank you for considering Young Arts. You are helping keep us alive, and already start thinking about people a few years behind you who you know this will be great for, and encourage them. That's how we find singers. We've kind of, this wasn't done. I mean, as someone that has done musicals, I love musicals and I love musical theater, but by asking for no musical theater, as I think it's listed in there somewhere, we're basically trying to equalize the process, the application process. If you're asking if you put Greenfinch and Linnet Bird from Sweeney Todd on there, that would probably be okay. If these are old book musicals that are orchestrated, and if you have any doubts, find out if it's a piece that opera companies have presented. So there are, Sweeney Todd, Candide, Little Night Music, of course, those are orchestrated pieces that could be done unamplified. I think that's the thing. What we don't do is Wicked. Okay. And not because Wicked isn't like the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. It's just we have a musical theater discipline. Great. And I think, Neidra, correct me if I'm wrong, if there is a question that you're really on the fence about, that is something we can answer during the process, right?
During adjudications?
Or if someone contacted the office during application process.
Yeah, so before deadline, yes, just
okay.
Send an email or call the office, send an email to apply or call the office. Yes, and there are many staff members that man those two things, and we'll get you an answer. Yes.
Great. And do understand if we say, no, please don't apply with a piece from Waitress, that's not because we don't love it. It's just we're staying true to the discipline.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Great. Thank you, Aaron, for being with us.
Thank you for having me. It's always great to do anything Young Arts related.
Great.
All right. Thank you all so much for joining us again. And if anybody's still here, just remember, apply at youngarts.org for any follow-up questions. And we look forward to receiving all your applications.
Thank you.